Folks, when life's got you down, don't give up. Your favorite pet deck might get a new wave of legacy support that is super pushed when you least expect it. So, in case you guys have never watched any content made by me before or don't follow me on any other social medias, you may not know that I am a hardcore Jack Atlas stan, I guess, as the kids call it. I've done a cosplay of him. I've made the primer on the Red Dragon Archfiend strategy after the structure deck came out in 2023. And I just all around love this character and this strategy. And so I was very surprised when it was announced that for the final set of Yu-Gi-Oh's 8th series, Blazing Dominion, we're going to get a whole new wave of Red Dragon Archfiend Jack Atlas support cards, including the cover card of the set itself, which is really, really awesome. So I do want to talk about these. I want to give my thoughts about them. I will say that I'm mostly positive about them, but they do have some pros and cons that I think are worth talking about, and I don't think they fix every problem that the deck has. And I also don't think that this really increases the power level of the strategy by that much. I would say that the end board only ends up being like 15 to 20% more powerful, but the consistency with which you can get there is a lot more easily. And so far, from what I've been seeing with OCG players on Twitter and stuff like that, theory crafting with this, nobody's playing Centurion or anything like that, which is refreshing to me because I never bother with that build of the deck. And some of the other goofy extenders and things like that that the deck has inherited over the years are not present in some of those builds people are tinkering around with as well. So I'm looking forward to playing this as a pure strategy. I'm looking forward to practicing the hell out of these cards before the set comes out. And hopefully having another primer for you guys ready to go when the set does release. So first card we have here is Darkness Resonator, and I really like that the monsters that they have here are retrains of cards that Jack uses in the anime instead of entirely original ones. It gives me the same vibe as what the new Automat cards from Duelist Advance had, where it's like, oh, we're going to retrain Goblinberg and Kagatokage and like retroactively make it part of an archetype. So I think that's pretty cool, and I like what they've done here with this as well. Especially because aside from the archetype of Resonator, the only thing that ties in Jack's non-tuner monsters to his strategy is whether or not they mention Red Dragon Archfiend in their card text. That's the thing they've gone with. And a lot of people don't like that as a design mythos around archetypes. They don't like when the archetype is glued together by whether or not it mentions its main card by name. And I understand the reason for that. But they're doing the best with what they have now that they've kind of dug themselves into that hole. So anyway, Darkness Resonator. He has the exact same stats as the original Dark Resonator, and he has 3 effects, which are all hard ones per turn. So you can reveal the original Red Dragon Archfiend in your extra deck, special this from your hand, and you're locked into Synchros for the rest of the turn. When it is specialed, you can gain an additional normal summon of Resonator. That is awesome because this summoning condition is literally free. You are always going to have the original RDA in your extra deck at the start of your combo, so using this as an extender is always free. And if your board gets interrupted in some kind of way, his summon from hand is usually always going to be live. It's not determined on another card being on the field, which I like that a lot. It reminds me a lot of like Rika Princess, where the special summon of her is like literally free. Like there's no condition on it whatsoever. It's just a restriction that it puts on you after it resolves. And then so being able to extend with this guy and then getting an additional normal of a Resonator. A normal of a Resonator only matters if it is exactly Soul, or Chain Resonator is a card people are considering now because of this guy. It's a level 1 that has an actual effect on normal summon. Also, you can target any number of tuners you control and their levels become 1. So when I first read this, I thought it meant reduce their level by 1. It actually says their levels become 1. And I like the fact that it's any number, meaning you can do 1 or you can do like all 3 if you have the 3 Resonators on the field. This helps you kind of modulate levels if you're trying to make Red Supernova early and you don't have the exact bodies you need. You can kind of fix your board state a little bit. Also, if you don't have the ability to reduce levels via Bone Archfiend, I like that about this guy a lot. Power Vice Dragon, same stats as the original Vice Dragon, and you can use the first and second effect of this card's name once per turn. If you control no monsters, or all monsters you control are Dark Synchros, you can special this from your hand. If it is special, you can add a Resonator from your deck to your hand, and you're locked into Dark Synchros. It also has a lingering effect of a Red Dragon Archfiend summoned with this card as synchro material cannot be destroyed by battle. I think that last part is largely irrelevant. I don't think that's going to matter a lot at all. However, so I am very mixed about this card because it is a good starter, but it is only a starter. It can be an extender, but under very, very specific circumstances. And usually it is only a starter. So here are the situations if it's a starter. You hard open it in your opening hand. You control nothing. You can special it. You can add a Resonator. You can normal the Resonator. You can play. But its special summon condition is if you control no monsters or if all of your monsters are Dark Synchros. And I think that can potentially create a problem where the only way in which you can extend with this guy is if you have a situation where you have you go into Red Rising and it gets negated. And Red Rising is a huge choke point for this deck, and players will realize that. And so you control the Red Rising is negated, you have this guy in your hand, you can special it, you can extend. That is pretty cool. Its stats do not synergize well with the rest of the deck. It's a level 5, so it's not searchable. It's a level 5 and a dragon, so it's not searchable off of Soul or one of the other cards we're going to be talking about later. And so its stats and typing and everything is a little bit anti-synergistic with the rest of the strategy. It does mention Red Dragon Archfiend by name, which means it can be searched off of Crimson Gaia, which is good. But I don't know. I think it is. I'm gonna have to play it and see what I think. But I think that this guy is a great starter and a subpar extender. The thing I'm worried about with this guy as an extender is you end up in a situation where you, like, let's say you special Crimson or you normal Soul, and they get negated. Or let's say you normal Soul, it gets negated. You cannot special this guy from hand now because all you control is a main deck tuner monster. So of course the solution there would just be don't misplay and just special this guy first as your starter. But I don't know. I almost low key wish that he could have been like a level 4 fiend and you would modulate his level after he's summoned. I feel like that would have been a little bit more synergistic. And they've done that before with other cards, like just off the top of my head, the Jirai Gumo Trap Retrain as part of the Gate Guardian archetype does not have the same stats as the original Jirai Gumo. It's slightly different. Not that is super relevant or anything, but just thinking out loud in terms of like they didn't have to stat this guy the same as the original. They could have made this a level 4 fiend. But either way, I think this card's promising. It is a good starter. It is. They are working towards fixing the non-tuner issue with this strategy. Because the main issue with this strategy is Bone Archfiend is not searchable off of Crimson Gaia because it doesn't mention Red Dragon Archfiend by name. And then the other non-tuners like Wandering King Wildwind just summon themselves and don't do anything else when summoned. So this guy and the next guy are kind of designed to fix that. So the next one right here is Fiend Peace Golem. I wonder if they're going to keep that name or if it's going to be like Fiendish Peace Golem or something like that. So for those of you that don't know, this is Big Peace Golem from Duelist Genesis after he's been afflicted with Fiendish Chain, which is a lovely little piece of lore there for Jack Atlas Retrain. I like this guy a lot. So this guy is awesome. I think that this is the best non-tuner they could have given us. This guy is the non-tuner extender that we needed. This guy's crazy. So same exact stats as the original Big Piece Golem. You can use the first, second, and third effect of this card's name once per turn. If you control a Fiend tuner, you can special this card from your hand. If this is special, you can decrease its level by up to 2. So you can either leave it a 3, or sorry, you can leave it at 5, and you can tune it with a 3 for an 8, or you can reduce it to a 4, tune it with a 2 for a 6 for Red Rising. You can reduce it to a 3, tune it with a 3 for a 6, etc., etc. So it basically is the non-tuner that fits the level of whatever tuner you have on board, and I like that about it a lot. It gets even better though. So if this card is sent to the graveyard as synchro material for a Red Dragon Archfiend or a monster that mentions it, you can target one level 4 or lower fiend in your graveyard and special in defense. And so that can be a tuner or a non-tuner. That can be one of the resonators, or it can be the non-tuner resonator body like Bone Archfiend or like Wandering King Wildwind. It just can't be this guy or this guy, unfortunately, which is where, again, I feel like this guy's typing is a little bit anti-synergistic. Because, like, let's say there was a way to, like, dump this guy earlier in your combo and you revive it off of him and then you get to, you know what I mean? Like, it's just unfortunate the stats of the Power of Ice Dragon, but I won't harp on that for too much longer. I think this guy is awesome. Again, it is a non-tuner body that is an extender that also does something. Like it summons itself and then it continues to extend by reviving a monster from grave that does not even have to be one of the cards involved in the synchro summon. It can be something different. I think it's awesome. And I think that there's a good chance that the Uva Loop is going to be completely redundant after this wave of support as well. Next up, we have Red Nova Dragon Assault Mode. What a goofy card. I cannot believe this exists. Side note, I don't love this art. I think he looks a little goofy here. I think it's just the pose. I mean, it's in line with the other Assault Mode cards. But I just don't... I think the original RDA Assault Mode main deck monster looks better. So, same base stats as Red Supernova, which is, 500 more than our original Red Nova. Can have a normal 7 or 7 must be special summon with Assault Mode activate. When your opponent activates a card or effect, quick effect, you can banish this card until the end phase. Banish cards your opponent controls up to the number of tuners in your graveyard. When an opponent's monster declares an attack, you can banish this card until the end phase and negate the attack, then end the battle phase. And if this card is destroyed, you can special summon Red Nova Dragon from your graveyard. I don't love this. This is the card out of the new support that I do not think is going to see play in the main strategy. But I do think this card has a lot of potential in a dedicated Assault Mode strategy, which we will be thinking about because I want to say it's the same set. Includes a bunch of new Assault Mode cards. The Junk Warrior Assault Mode, the Crimson Blader Assault Mode, and the new main deck cards. The field spell for that is incredible because they literally just let you cheat out any Assault Mode card that you want. You don't even have to make the guy that it is you don't have to make the synchro that the Assault Mode is based off of to get that to work. So these really difficult to summon ones like Red Nova Dragon or TG Halberd Cannon can be cheated out with that. And so I think there's a lot of potential in this guy because it really doesn't matter what monster he's based off of if you can just cheat it out. But you will run into the issue of his banish effect is only good if you have tuners in the graveyard. And he can't float into the original if you didn't make him the hard way. His banish effect is not as good as Red Supernova Dragon because Red Supernova Dragon just by default banishes all cards your opponent controls. But the plus side about this guy over Red Supernova is he comes back during the same end phase that he's banished. Whereas with Red Supernova, it's like the next end phase, so you don't get him back for a while. And there's ways to cheat him back, of course, but you don't get him back under his own effect for a little while. Whereas this guy comes back immediately and then is then live to do it again. And his banish to end the battle phase is similar to Blazar Dragon, but it's kind of irrelevant because this guy has 4,000 attacks, so I don't think anything's going to really be attacking over him. He also does not gain attack for the tuners engraved, so he's permanently at 4k, whereas he also has no protection. He has no protection. So I just think Red Supernova is better than this guy in every way, unless you cheat him out with the assault mode field spell. But you have to have tuners engraved for his effect to do anything. So again, don't love this guy. I don't think he'll see play in the core strategy, but I'm very much looking forward to seeing how he ties into the dedicated assault mode deck. Next up, we have the Crimson King. You can't see my finger pointing up in the air, but he's literally doing the Jack Atlas pose, which is so cheesy and so great. So this is just like another retrain of the vanilla RDA, or a kind of a retrain of Scarlight if you pay attention to his defense stat. Not that that's super relevant or anything, but what is weird is he doesn't have Red Dragon Archfiend in his name, which is a little bit weird, but he does mention Red Dragon Archfiend in his card text. So most of the synergies that you care about, such as the Fiend Peace Golem we talked about, still applies when you summon this guy. So this is definitely going to be part of combos, similar to Red Rising Dragon. So the non-tuners have to be dark monsters, but I don't think that will be relevant if you're playing the core dedicated strategy. You can only use the first and second effect of this card's name once per turn. If this card is synchro summon, you can add a card that mentions Red Dragon Archfiend. Cool. So we get to add all those extenders we just mentioned. We get to add either the Vice Dragon or the we get to add the Darkness Resonator or the Vice Dragon or the Fiendish Peace Golem or Crimson Gaia or Vision Resonator, any of that stuff. So that's already pretty good. When your opponent activates a monster effect, quick effect, you can banish this card, special summon the original Red Dragon Archfiend from your extra deck and treat it as a synchro summon. And if you do, its attack becomes doubled and it cannot be destroyed by your opponent's card effects. I actually really like that effect. I think that is really awesome if it's your turn and it's like turn 3 or later. Because if you're trying to push for damage and it's like your turn and you do this effect and you float into the original, you've got a 6k beater that can't be destroyed. And so you can use that to really kind of push for damage. If it's your opponent's turn and you do this, I don't really get it as much because it's not really a form of disruption. You can maybe do it to dodge removal. Like if your opponent, let's say if your opponent tries to Ash or Valor this guy, he can just pour it out, which is really cool. So he is Ash and Valor proof because as soon as your opponent tries to interact with it, you can just and a quick effect tribute banish him and then resolve the other effect. But other than that, I can't really see that much of a point in the effect on... I don't think you're leaving this guy on your end board on your opponent's turn if you can help it. So that quick effect is only really good on your turn, I feel like. Next up, we have Crimson Blade Dragon. So they turned Crimson Blader into a dragon, which is really funny. That's not the same stats as the original Crimson Blader. I think that attack and defense stat is switched, or does Crimson Blader have 2800 attack? Either way. It is a... Oh no, it's definitely not the same, because I think Crimson Blader is a level 8. Yeah, so not the same stats as the original Crimson Blader, but it is a dragon type, and it mentions... it does not mention Red Dragon Archfiend in its card text. So one thing that's interesting, this card is always treated as Crimson Blader. And that creates a like Harpy Lady situation where you cannot, in theory, play more than 3 copies of this or the original Crimson Blader in one extra deck. Not that you would do that, but Crimson Blader is a Jack Atlas card. It's one he didn't play until the final duel of the series, but it is a Jack Atlas card, and they are retroactively trying to make it part of the archetype by making it a dragon, which means it can be summoned under the restrictions that the resonators and the other cards in the archetype usually inflict on you. So that's pretty cool. And it being a level 7, I think, is also really good because level 7 is currently the level in the synchro lineup that does nothing at the moment. You're either making Kui Belt to pop a card, or you're not making a level 7 at all. But if you have to go into a level 7, quite a few cool things happen. Also, side note about it being Crimson Blader. So this is also probably meant to tie into the Crimson Blader Assault mode. So it needs to be Crimson Blader in name in order for the Assault mode thing to work. But I'll have to look up how that field spell works again, because if the field spell requires you to do like like the Malefic cards do, like send the synchro from extra to grave to summon the assault mode version, it needs to be considered the name of the original synchro while in the extra deck, as opposed to only on the field, in which case you can only convert this into the Crimson Blader assault mode with assault mode activate if it's already been summoned properly on the field. So making it always treated as Crimson Blader just solves that problem, because nobody's going to play 3 of this and 3 of the original anyway. It's totally fine. The original's not even a dragon, so it's never going to be included in the same deck. Anyway, if this card is synchro summon, you can add to your hand or special summon one level 8 or higher monster that cannot be normal summoned or set. So this is the card that is getting a lot of attention in this wave of support from the player base. I've been seeing a lot of people commenting on this. The people that are experimenting with this deck as a core strategy are mainly pointing out that you can use this to search the Bestial Lubellium, and you can then therefore play a small Bestial package that pretty much guarantees you a card like Branded Beast or Etude of the Branded on the field, and gets you a Bestial in hand as another form of disruption, which is pretty powerful. So this is where the ceiling of the deck increases, because there's no new extra deck boss monster, really. The extra deck bosses are the same ones we've always had, but this lets you weave a small Bestial package into your end board, which further increases the power of your end board by giving you a higher ceiling. Does that make sense? So, however, people are looking at, level 8, level 8 or higher normal main deck of monsters that cannot be normal summoned or set, and they're identifying a few that might be a little bit problematic, namely Habakiri. And I just hope that RDA Mitsurugi is not a thing. I don't ever want to see that strategy. That sounds like a waking nightmare to me, and I don't want to see it. But if it ends up being good, it ends up being good, so whatever. He also says at the start of the damage step, if this card battles a level 5 or higher monster, you can destroy that monster, which is similar to the effect of the original Crimson Blader, and I doubt it will ever come up with this guy, because, again, it seems like this is just a combo piece and not part of your end board. Next we have a spell. We have Crimson Call. So this one mentions Red Dragon Archfiend in its card text, so it can be searched off of Crimson Gaia or the Crimson King himself. So that's pretty cool. And it lets you add a level 4 or lower Fiend monster from your graveyard to your hand, or if you control the original RDA or Synchro monster that mentions it, so that Synchro monster that mentions it can include Scar Red and it can include Crimson King as part of your combo. You can add it from your deck to your hand. So this is their apology for Bone Archfiend not being searchable. You now have to like go through another card in order to get to him, which kind of sucks, but I think they did acknowledge that as a problem where the deck would have been a lot more modern and a lot more consistent if Bone Archfiend just mentioned the Red Dragon Archfiend by name in its card text, and it doesn't. Also, cool to see Crimson Resonator as the guy in the artwork here. It's a nice touch. So this card will definitely see play. It will probably only be like a one of, because you will be searching it off of probably Crimson King, not necessarily Crimson Gaia. But you could do either one. So, or even Vision Resonator. Vision Resonator searches a spell or trap that mentions Red Dragon Archfiend's card text. What do you want? Do you want to talk about cards? Come here. Come on. She's running away. Um, yeah, so I like this card a lot. Final card. So this one is the Ruler's Rumbling. This is a normal trap, and it says you can only activate this one copy of this card per turn. Neither player can activate cards in response to this card's activation if your opponent has special summon more than 10 times per turn, or in this turn. So its effects are based on how many times your opponent has special summon this turn. If they have special summon once, at least once, you get to special summon a Dark Synchro from your grave or banish. 3 or more times, Red Dragon Archfiend in your monster zone is unaffected by your opponent's effects. And 5 or more, change all monsters your opponent controls to face down defense, non-targeting. And 10 or more, it becomes spell speed 4. So, I don't particularly like this card very much. I think it's a bit win more. I don't think you're ever getting to that 5+ effect down there because it's very telegraphed. I think that the only reason why a card like Nibiru works as well as it does is because it doesn't have to be on the field to threaten that punish for your opponent overextending. So I don't think there's going to be a scenario in which this card is set on your board and your opponent does 5 summons and doesn't like win the game for that effect to punish them. I just don't think it's very realistic. You're probably going to want more pointed interaction like that. So your red zone, your fiendish golem, your fiendish chain, your red rain are going to be, even your time to stand up, dump that in the graveyard, is going to be a better card than this for that purpose. But where I do think this is going to be useful, so it does mention Red Dragon Archfiend in its card text. You can get it off of Crimson Gaia and Vision Resonator, etc. The first effect, I think, is the one that's going to that would have any chance of mattering, because you can trigger the banish effect of Red Supernova to wipe your opponent's board, banish everything. And then if your opponent can continue to extend through that and continue playing, you can just activate this after they've special summoned once and bring back the Red Supernova from banish for another disruption. So I think that's pretty cool. Again, you can also get this off of Red Lotus King Flame Crime, but I think most people are going to just be getting Red Rain off of that. So I think this is another card that's probably not going to see play in this lineup, but I think both of the new synchros, the spell, and all of the non-tuners, plus the Dark Resonator, basically every card except for the Assault Mode and the Trap are going to see play. I think that all these cards are crazy, and they fix most of the problems with the deck. Not all of them, but most of them. So I'm going to be test playing the heck out of this, and you guys let me know what you think, and I will see you guys next time.